Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. This time we are going to be talking about Streets of Rage 2 on the Sega Genesis. So here's the story with this one. A year after they beat up Mr. X the first time, he has magically somehow come back to life. And, the city's, again, just full of crime. Not not they didn't really do a whole lot. Just got 1 year apiece, and then everything went to shit again. Fair enough, I guess. It makes more sense if you don't think about it too much, because why would he just come back and everything would be just fine? Well, I'll tell you why he comes back. Because they wanted to have a sequel. The first game was very successful, so hey, let's do it again. And we'll add a wrestler friend, who I'll talk about a little bit later on, because he may or may not have gone to the Mayor Hagar School of Wrestling along with Zangief. They look a lot alike, and you'll see it because I played a lot of the game with him. So, like the other Streets of Rage, and like a lot of beat-em-ups from this era, this is a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you can kind of move in three directions. And you're just beating the shit out of everybody who comes by. They might be, bad guys that are connected to the big bad dude, or they could just be random people you happen to meet on the street and decide, hey, that guy or girl needs to be punched in the face because, look at the outrageous outfit that they're wearing. Obviously, they're here to get beat up. Instead of 3 characters, you've got 4. And Max is the one that's kind of added in here. I don't really know why he's added in, but hey, I'm glad he's here. He's pretty fun. He's the strongest of the characters. He, beats people up the most. But I still like Axel more, even though I think Max is fun to play with because hey, he does a lot of the same moves that other big characters in beat 'em ups do. I still think Axel is my favorite one to play. Skate's a lot of fun, but he can be kind of annoying to try to play as. The sprites feel a little bit bigger in this one, but that might just be because I was playing as Max, and he is naturally a much larger sprite than the other characters. And he is also a little bit more detailed. Your special moves are a lot different in this one. They still take away some health when you use them, but they don't have like a little cinematic that goes along with it. So when you do a special move, you don't have to like stop and wait as a police car comes up and shoots a bazooka at your enemies. I kind of like this a little bit more, but I don't know. I'm a little torn on it. I kind of like the way it's done here, but it still would be kind of cool to have it where, some big crazy thing happens when you do your special. It also does take some of your health away, which I don't know. I feel like it's better than having like a set limit on the number of special moves you can do, but it is just a little annoying when that happens. You don't need the special too much, so you can kind of get away with it, and it works for this style of game. It's just one of those things that bothers me for some reason. I mentioned how detailed the sprites are, and I think they look a lot better in this one. Just, a little bit of time and some more technological advances, and they made them look a lot better here than they did in the other. You do have some more backgrounds. I think overall the graphics are going to be better in this one than they were in the other. The different stages are kind of cool. Even if they are just a little ridiculous, they're still kind of cool. You go through like a city, you go through this cool little amusement park, you end up at a baseball stadium, you fight on a pirate ship, and then eventually you get to the big bad enemy base. It's still a lot of fun to play, and yeah, it just does. I'll get into this in a little bit when I ask a question. it does feel a little odd that you're just wandering around and no one else on the street seems to want to help you. Nobody's calling the police or anything like that. It feels a little strange at times. When I was playing this, it felt like the difficulty kind of spiked, but that might have been me playing as Max most of the game and then switching over to Skate and Axel later on. I can't really explain what happened. It might have more to do with just me not being all that great at it. I'll completely admit it. I'm not the best at this game, so it could have just been me hitting a spot where just my own terribleness at video games kicked in. But it did feel a little strange when it spiked a lot, and I had to use I had to use both of my continues to get through this. The first continue, it took me forever to get to it, because the game's pretty generous with extra lives. The second one, it felt like I kind of burned through it a little quick. I think it's because I'm not very good with Skate, as opposed to the others, and I kind of felt like a lot of my own deficiencies in this game were masked by Max. There were a couple of bosses and mini-bosses that annoyed me, like this flying jackass. I absolutely hated fighting him. But aside from that, it went pretty easy. I think if I had lowered the difficulty, it probably would have been easier for me. So I wanted to ask this, I think I asked the same thing with Final Fight. I'm not totally sure that you're the hero in all of this, because for all you know, a lot of these guys that you're beating up, they're just going about their business. Especially these people who are just relaxing on their park bench, and all of a sudden you walk up, start stabbing them with a knife. They didn't ask for that. They just wanted to have a nice relaxing day at the park, and here comes this big muscle-bound dude in weird pants, and he starts stabbing you, or starts smacking you in the face. Sometimes he suplexes you, and nobody seems to care. Nobody's really doing anything about it. And then you go into an arcade, and you have people just playing their arcade games. Ironically, they're playing bare knuckle, so figure that one out. There's a little meta going on here. But they're just sitting at their arcade game, and then you walk in, you start breaking the arcade cabinets and beating the shit out of the patrons there. The guy who owns this arcade didn't ask for any of that. I mean, you're beating up his customers, and then you're stealing the money and the gold, apparently, that's coming out of the machines. You're kind of a dick. So I don't know if you're really the hero in all of this. I know the story sets up that you're supposed to be, but your actions in it are kind of, I don't know. You're sending a lot of people to the hospital who may or may not be involved with this big evil gang. They could just be random citizens hanging out and going about their business, trying to enjoy their day off or something like that. And you walk up and you give them a belly-to-back suplex. They didn't ask for any of that. So yeah, I was playing this and just wondering, maybe I'm not actually the hero in this story. Okay, then we come to this part. I was asked by a friend of mine made a comment about Zangief and Mike Hagar, and he was, because they're both from Capcom games, and Zangief is kind of modeled on Hagar. He has the same moves, he does the same things like that. And I mentioned, I think there's one other character that does that as well, but I couldn't remember what game he was from. And then I started playing this one, and it's Max. Max is basically another version of Mike Hagar. They kind of move the same way, they have similar special moves, they have the same drop kick. The missile drop kick for wrestling, where they jump, flex at the same time, so that people really know that they're working hard on this one. And they're both wrestlers. So if you told me that somehow there was a Sega Capcom crossover and it happened to be Mike Hagar and Max, then I'd completely believe you. It's one of the many similarities between the series that I think is just really funny. And yeah, it was just something I noticed and kind of wanted to talk about. So what are my final thoughts on this? Streets of Rage 2 is awesome. It's one of those beat 'em ups that I love playing. It's just really great. I have a lot of memories of playing this with a couple of my friends. This was the one that I think. I don't know if I said that about the first one. I think 2 is the one that we played more often, just because we had it. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I think I remember us playing 2 more than the first one. Going back and playing it for this, I really enjoyed this game. It's not as hard as the first one. I think this one was a little bit easier. It's a little bit more generous with the extra lives. I still don't like the idea of only having 2 or 3 continues. That feels like something that they would have taken from an arcade or something like that, even though I know this wasn't in the arcades. It feels like a holdover from like an arcade style game that's sort of annoying. I would have liked it more if it had just been like a free to play or something like that and just given you unlimited continues. That might just be me, and maybe that just has to do with me playing it by myself or something like that. Anyway, that's going to wrap things up. Let me know what you think in the comments below, especially if you liked, especially which one of the Streets of Rage series you like more. 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.